Hi, everyone listening to us. Welcome to the Connected Parents Conference. I am Renata, the parents host, and our today's special guest from Colorado, very far away, is Leslie Potter. Welcome, Leslie.
Thank you, Renata. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so grateful for having you here. I have been following you for years. I like reading your blog and listening to your podcast, receiving your emails. But for those of us who are maybe not that familiar with your work, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Yes. Who are you?
Yeah, who am I? That is the big question, isn't it? I'm still trying to find out, Renata. But as a parent, I actually decided to have my daughter much later in life because I was a bit of a wild bohemian. I was a creative and I traveled all over Europe and the United States doing crazy theater and had my own band. And around 40, I woke up and went, oh my God, I forgot to be a mother. And that was something deep in my heart that I knew I had to do. It was such a soul calling to be a mother. And yet I had a lot of fear about being a mother because of my early upbringing. I had a raging mother and it was a very difficult childhood. So even though I wanted to be a mother, I had a lot of contradictory feelings about would I be good at it? Could I do it? Right. So, got past all that fear, a lot of fear, and I went to China. I never got married, right? Because I organized my life to never feel rage and all those feelings. So at 44, I got up the nerve to go to China and adopt my daughter as a single mom. Wow. And so I thought I was really ready. You know, I had done a lot of work. I'd done a lot of personal work. I'd done a lot of spiritual work. I thought I'd sowed all my wild oats. I'd been a wild, bohemian, crazy person. So I thought I was ready and I settled in. And, you know, I was just shocked. I had no idea how much of my unprocessed material, even though I had worked a lot of it, was going to rise up in relation to my daughter. So I am a person that loves to deeply inquire and take personal responsibility. So as I say, we lived in a house of rage for a few years, and I'm smart enough to know that it wasn't my daughter, that it had something to do with me. So I began to dig really deep. By this time, I had trained to be a psychotherapist. And I was living in Colorado. And so I went on a deep, deep dive into my own personal history, you know, and my own material that I thought I had worked with, but had never had, like I say, I'd always gotten up to the edge, even in relationship. I'd get up to the edge of rage and then I'd be gone. I would leave. Well, I wasn't going to leave this beautiful child that I had adopted. So I hunkered down and created Pure Joy. I mean, Pure Joy came all out of my experience. And then I worked for a company with at-risk teens. So I began to see how the same thing was happening, but it's really intense when it happens to teenagers. So I started sitting at the kitchen table with the parents and started saying, hey, let's throw out everything we know, throw out all your contracts and everything that you believe that you know about parenting, and let's just get real. Let's create a new foundation for ourselves and our children. And like your conference, here's to learn what self-love really means, not what we think it means or what we're told. That's what I've been up to for the last 20 years.
That's a wonderful story. And now that you mention, you know, the self-love, and that's true for myself too. The first time I heard someone talking about self-love, I was like, that's so egoistic, you know, you have to love other people, but not yourself. So we are often like misled by this self-love. What's your take on self-love? What does that mean to love yourself?
Yeah, well, the way I like to describe it to people is when we were young, we were taught to love others. We were taught to be generous to others. We were taught to be kind to others. But did anyone ever teach you to be effectively selfish? Did anyone ever teach you to care for yourself? Did anyone ever teach you to be generous to your own being? Right? It was all about the other. And when we did as children try to take care of ourselves by saying no, or, trying to set healthy boundaries, when your mom licked your face and you hit her hand, you were trying to take care of yourself. We were, named as rude, mean, selfish, bad. I mean, we had all these labels put on us. So of course, as children, we didn't want to be seen as that. So we began to abandon and reject ourselves to take care of others. And this is the main thing I see with mamas. I work a lot with mamas. I work with papas too, but mamas that are in the home. We were really trained to abandon and reject ourselves in favor of purchasing love from the outside, from others. So I like to tell mamas, it's not our fault. This was a training. We were conditioned to do this. And then when people turn around and say, well, just take a bath or get a massage, it doesn't do anything.
No. No.
Feels good for a minute, right? But it doesn't attend to what that really means to take care of ourselves and the feelings we're going to have to tolerate to do that. Because those feelings, when every time I take care of myself, I feel selfish, I feel abandoning, I feel rejecting of my daughter. And those were feelings that I organized my life to never feel, right? By being a pleaser, by taking care of others, by loving others. But what was happening, the more I did that with my child, the more resentment and rage I began to feel. Because she was taking it, of course. She didn't know, what that I wasn't loving myself. I was putting all my self-love on other love onto her.
Exactly.
And, right. And then what began to happen was she began to get enraged. It was like, get off of me, right? Turn back to yourself. Because it was like I was smothering her with my love and she couldn't find herself, right? So that was when her rage rose up, and it was so scary for me because I had a raging mother. But when I really looked at it, I saw rage was the great awakener to literally, she was saying, get back in your own skin, mama. Love yourself. Take care of yourself, right? Stop projecting it all onto me. And when I got that, still not easy, Renata. Every time I take care of myself, I feel selfish, abandoning, and rejecting. I just expect it. I'm like, whoa, that must mean I'm taking care of myself.
That's a good sign.
It's really, I tell people, if anybody tells you you're selfish, go, thank you so much for noticing that I'm taking care of myself. Right? Because we weren't taught to be effectively selfish. And so then we're so terrified as mothers, if we start to take care of ourselves, that then our children are going to feel abandoned, rejected, and unsupported. They are, but they're just feelings. It doesn't mean that's what you're doing. And so then we get to start normalizing those feelings, because your children are going to feel rejected the first time they don't get that job they want, or first time their boyfriend or girlfriend, doesn't call them. Well, if we've felt those feelings in the family and we know they're just feelings, they're not who we are, we're resilient then. We can still love ourselves. We don't self-aggress and turn against ourselves.
And we could have this habit of, what does that mean, feeling, our feelings? Because usually we just try to avoid them. Whenever we feel like a negative feeling, what we call negative feelings, we try to avoid them. Whenever I take care of myself, I feel guilty. So that doesn't make any sense, because let's say I would go for a walk just like to take care of myself, but then the whole time I would feel guilty.
Yes. And in my model, we start to look at guilt is a refusal to be intimate with what is, meaning to be intimate with that need inside of you. right? So if I can go to guilt, then I never have to come back in and really claim that I matter as much as my child, not more, not less, but I matter as much. And so why, if I matter as much, why would I abandon and reject myself and elevate my child's needs up here? Right? You can see how that's going to build resentment, because now you're going to expect your child to take care of you. Forget that. Right? That's not their job. They didn't get the memo. Right? So what I tell parents is we have to elevate ourselves to our needs are as important. And they're different. Theirs are very present. You got to change the diaper. You got to feed them in the moment, right? But ours are as important, like that need to take that walk, to find stillness, to re-nourish yourself so you can go back in and feed them and, you know, change those diapers without feeling resentful or pissed off because you didn't take care of yourself.
That's so.
But remember, we were trained. That's why it's so hard. It's like a habit. I tell people, like, move your trash can in your kitchen today. I moved mine in my bathroom. My daughter moved mine in my bathroom. It's been almost a month and my hand still wants to go back to the old place, right? Even though I'm looking at the trash can, I'll get something and my hand will still want to go back. So I like to tell people that's what habit is like. It's unconscious, it's wired kind of in the body. So if you have a habit of abandoning and rejecting yourself, you really have to practice. You have to literally move the trash can and start, you know, making, like they say, fake it till you make it. Like start practicing what that looks like to include yourself.
What would be the very first steps that we have to take, especially if we never ever did that? I mean, you know, you can, I understand what you are saying intellectually, but
Yeah.
how would that, you know, how would I make it a practice?
I'll tell you my favorite practice that I'm redoing right now, because I gave it to I teach courses, and so one of the mamas, it's in my course, and so one of the mamas is saying how she did it. I was like, oh, I better do that again because I forget. But the number one thing I do when I wake up in the morning is I do a visualization of my mother birthing me. I literally see her. I imagine I wake up usually around 6 in the morning. That would be probably 7. That's probably when my mother was getting ready to go to the hospital, you know. And I just imagine her going through that journey and that I'm there with her, like following. And then I imagine that I'm being born, and then I hold my newborn. I literally lay there in the bed. It takes me, you know, 30 seconds, a minute or so, depending on how long I do it. And I have a little teddy bear, and I literally put the little teddy bear right here, just as if it were me as a newborn. And
Wow.
I welcome myself. Every morning. I welcome myself. And I let myself know that I matter, that I'm wanted, that I belong. Especially for me, because I wasn't wanted. I was a third child. So I have some core issues around that. So just every day, I just start very simply. I start my day with just saying, I love you. Good morning, sweetheart. So I like to start people, because I want to go for me, I had to go all the way back to before I was conditioned, even though I was probably conditioned in the womb, even, you know, to take care of my mother's needs in some level. But I try to go back to the innocence of my being and my heart, because I didn't come in a pleaser. You didn't either. I wasn't born a pleaser. I wasn't born thinking I didn't matter or my needs didn't matter. That was all taught. So for me, if I go all the way back to the very beginning, then I'm starting to like reset, moving the trash can. You know, I'm starting to go back to that very beginning. So I would recommend that as just a practice. Like, do it for 30 days and just see what you notice.
So you go to that original wholeness,
Yeah.
And when you start from there, you accept yourself, you love yourself, you are in relationship with yourself, you welcome yourself, you hug yourself, you talk to yourself.
Yes. And I let this one know that I'm important and my needs matter. So I'm setting my day up to say, okay, it's really, because my habit is to make my needs less than everyone else, because that's how I'm trained. So most mamas, you know, imagine, get up every morning and immediately you just start thinking about everything your children need. Right?
Even
That's
before you get up, like the first thing in your mind is like, I have to.
Have to. And it's all about out there, right? I have to take care of this. So if I just decide to start my day with, well, I'm going to start by taking care of this, welcoming this, loving this, then that's my ground, right? And then my experiences is that I created a process called the safe seat, which I'm going to share with everyone. My safe seat became my little special place where anytime I wasn't attending to myself and I was acting out, when I don't attend to myself, I act out with my daughter. I blame her. I think that she's doing something to me. I feel emotionally threatened. Well, I started recognizing that my daughter wasn't doing anything to me. She's trying to take care of herself. Right. And that was everything I wanted, was to raise a child that could set healthy boundaries and take care of herself.
Exactly.
Right. But every time she did it, I got triggered. I felt rejected. I felt abandoned. I felt unsupported. Right? So I recognized, oh gosh, if I'm going to raise a girl to say no, I wrote a blog post that said, I'm raising a girl to say no, just not to me.
To everyone else, but not to me.
Not me, right? And I was like, Leslie, you don't get to do that, right? I had to be willing to hear that no and see that she was setting a healthy boundary, but it was triggering this self-aggression inside of me. That must mean I'm rejectable. Well, it didn't mean I was rejectable. It meant I felt rejected. So I created the safe seat process. I'll explain it. You like me explain it? Would that be helpful? Do you guys play the game of tag in Lithuania? Do you know what that game is? And in a lot of countries in America, I'll just speak about America, we play a game called tag. And what it is all the big group of kids, they run around a field and somebody's chasing them and the chaser's trying to tag somebody. Okay. And if they tag you, you're it.
Okay.
Right. So when little ones play tag for the first time, it's really, really fun until the tagger starts to come after you. You can imagine.
Because then you get scared. Right? Yeah.
And the little ones freak out. And they usually will lay down on the ground and say something like, I'm sick. Or they'll hit the tagger, or some of them just run off the field screaming, like, I don't want to play this game. So what we do in that game is we create something called a safe base. And it's usually like a tree or a picnic bench. But the safe base is a place that you can run to and no one can tag you.
Oh.
Right? It's so cool. And so when the little ones, we teach them this. We're like, okay, if you're about to get tagged, you can run to the safe base and the tagger can't get you, and you can take a little breath and then you can run back out again. So I started recognizing in my parenting, I was getting tagged all the time. I was having a great time, but when my daughter wouldn't listen to me, I felt like she was coming after, she was threatening me, because in the game of tag, the child's brain perceives danger when the tagger's coming. They can't perceive that it's a game when that tagger's coming after them because their brain is young. But when they go to the safe base, they can take a breath, they can breathe, they can feel safe, and then they can look out and go, oh, the fun is out there. So in a way, it's a game of regulation. It teaches children to go and really check out reality. Then they run back out in the game and play.
And they play again.
Till finally they want to be the tagger, right? So that was what was happening to me. My daughter wouldn't listen to me. And my brain emotionally went, danger, 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 like she's doing something to me. It felt like she was emotionally threatening me. Now, if I didn't go to my safe seat, which I'll describe, I'd either want to yell at her, which would be like hitting her, or I'd want to throw my hands up and just say, well, just forget it. I don't even want to be a mother. I did that at times, right? Or I'd avoid, right? Or go after her, control, because my brain thought it was dangerous, right? So I created a safe seat in my house. I decided, well, I'm getting tagged all the time and I'm not able to see reality. So what if I make a safe base? Okay. So every time I would start to feel like that little child, you know, where I felt that energy rise up, I'd run over to my couch because mine was on the couch. You have to stay in the game. You don't run off to the bathroom and hide. This is in the game, right? And I would sit down and the same thing would happen. I would start breathing and the little one in my ear would go, oh my God, she won't listen to me. You know, I could just hear all these stories. And as I just sat there and said, oh, sweetheart, it's okay. It's okay. You're okay. It's okay. I would notice, just like in the game, that my energy would start to relax. And then when I could look out, I could see that, oh, my daughter wasn't emotionally trying to do anything to me. My daughter was probably feeling disrespected because I was pushing her. Or my daughter was just reading her book and I had an agenda, right? So then I could look from reality and go, oh, I'm the adult. Because I always like to tell parents, when we're triggered, we're not parents. We're like the young child in us that's our brains going danger, right? We see our children as the threat, the adult. So when I could safe seat, then I could look out and go, oh, my daughter's just trying to take care of herself because I was pushing or I was pulling or I was forcing her or I had an agenda. But I'm an adult and I know how to be with my daughter as an adult, right? I know that I cannot just walk in her room and tell her to do something. That will never work with my daughter. She feels emotionally threatened and she shuts the door. So as an adult, I can go, oh, I got to go in slow. I got to lower my energy. I've got to ask her something first. You know, we all know our children, right? So from my adult capacities, my self-love, my self-care, then I'm able to love, truly love my daughter and give her what she needs. But if I see her as an emotional threat to my well-being, then I'm going to lash out at her. But it's really a self-aggression to me because I don't believe in that moment that I can take care of myself.
And
that was a big story.
That's such a wonderful story. I have a personal story to tell you about your safe seat. So I have a safe armchair in my living room inspired by your story. So I pick up an armchair. We have 3 of them. So one of them is my safe seat. And whenever I feel like I'm down or I'm angry, you know, whatever is going on and I'm triggered by whatever is happening around me, I go in there and I sit there for, you know, a couple of minutes. And what's funny about it, that now my children know that. And whenever I'm like a bit, you know, triggered, they are like, Mom, maybe you should go to your safe seat.
It's so cool.
And one day my boy was reading, you know, in my safe seat, and he sensed kind of, I was, you know, distressed in the kitchen. He was like, Mom, you know, come. I'm going to find another seat. This is your seat. Come and sit. And it's so, you know, it's, I mean, it's also modeling. I mean, they see me trying to take care of myself whenever I'm, you know, run by all those big feelings. And they know now, you know, they know that I can go to my safe seat and feel safe. And they learn to do the same whenever they are feeling like, you know, upset or angry or sad.
You bet. My daughter had 2 safe seats in the house. She had one behind the couch and one upstairs because I'm not safe when I'm triggered, right? So she also, right, would feel triggered or feel like I wasn't safe. So yes, that's really how we learn self-love, is by watching how our mothers love themselves, or fathers, right?
How do we set those healthy boundaries. Like, you know, children have their boundaries, we have ours. How do we navigate between, you know, children and our boundaries?
Well, I have a very different view on boundaries. So I'll share that, and I support people in taking it or, you know, not, but open your mind a little bit. So in the culture, in the traditional culture, we say children need limits and boundaries. So what that does is it kind of gives us permission to limit and bind the child so that we don't have to feel our discomfort. Well, for me, I don't believe that I have the right to limit or bind anyone else, right? That's not my place. But my child will be limited and bound if I'm willing to set my healthy boundary, right?
Right.
So the difference is like, you know, binding the child is, you need to do this, you need to do that, you. But what happens to you when I start saying, Renata, you need to do that, you need to go upstairs and do this, you need to stop that? What happens inside?
I feel resentful, and probably I'm not gonna do that. I mean,
yeah, you can just feel right away.
It breaks the connection. I mean, I don't feel connected to you. It's like, you know.
Yeah, it's like, don't tell me what to do. Who do you think you are? Right. So you can feel your face. It kind of, you know, no, don't tell me what to do. So instead of telling our children what they need to do, I tell my child what I'm willing to offer, because that's my healthy boundary. So she can want anything. I like to tell the story about my daughter's 20 now, and she wanted a $38,000 4Runner. I don't know if you know, a 4Runner in America, it's a big car, right? Because we live in Colorado and everybody drives these big cars, right? $38,000, right? Of course she did. She was a teenager, all her friends drove one, right?
Yeah.
So if I did unhealthy boundaries, I would one way I would say, you can't have a new car. Who do you think you are? You know, we don't have that kind of money. You need to think less. Okay, that'd be one way. The other way of unhealthy boundaries, I would say, sure, honey, I'll buy you that car because I'm a pleaser. And I would drive an old car, let her drive the new one, and be in debt and feel resentful. Okay, so those are the two old ways. So instead, I said, oh my God, of course you want a 4Runner. Yes, what color do you want? She's like, red. It's like, oh my God, they're so beautiful. Let's look at them, get some magazines, make a vision board. Do you want to go drive one? She's like, yeah. It's like, oh my God, that's so great. And sweetheart, I'm willing to offer you $3,000 toward a new car. She's like, really? I mean, she was excited. You're going to give me $3,000? Absolutely. That's because that's my limit, right? Because if I give more than that, I'm going to be pissed off, right? If I don't give anything, of course I want to give something toward her dreams, but I don't want to limit her dreams or bind her, but I'm willing to give you $3,000. So my daughter went, we drove one. She checked out how much the insurance would be and how much the car payment. About a month later, she comes back to me. This was when she was 17, I think. And she goes, Mom, I think I'm okay sharing a car.
Wow.
She has never asked me for a car from that day forward. She never even asked me for the $3,000. You know, she realized, no, it wasn't her dream really. But she wanted to have that vision. So I didn't need to limit and bind her and tell her she wanted too much, or she was selfish, or how dare her not think about me because she knows I don't have that kind of money, right? Those would all be not me. My healthy boundary was I did want to offer something. So I always tell parents, I always have something I want to offer my daughter. It's just not everything that she wants. But I don't have to limit and bind her and make her feel bad or give more than I want to give.
It's a wonderful story. What I love in your story, that you say no. I mean, you don't say no to your child. You don't say you are selfish or you want too much, or, you know, you are being just, you know, thinking about
demanding.
Demanding.
Right, we say demanding. Yeah.
You just say, yes, that's a wonderful wish. I mean, you know, let's draw it, let's look at some pictures. That's all good, you know, to have these desires in life. And then my boundary is, you know, whatever it is.
Yes, this is what I'm offering.
So you say yes to the person, and then
Yeah.
you establish some boundaries around the situation.
Yes. So
That's
you don't
so
ever have
powerful.
you don't ever have to limit or bind your child's desires. If you do, it's about you. It's about your limitations. It's about your feeling of lack. So I feel she could, you know, we're going to change the world. Someone says, oh, I want to build the greatest, you know, COVID, whatever. And we would go, of course you do, right? And we're offering you money. That's what they're doing right now. We're offering you money to try to do that, right? But if we went, oh, no, that's stupid. You can't do that. Who do you think you are? Then all our innovation, all our desires and excitement and dreams just get squashed. And then we start to self-aggress. I'm too big. I want too much. You know, oh, who am I to think that I could have that?
Exactly. I love this
So
story.
I never say no to my daughter. I mean, she always asks me. I was like, well, good for you for asking. And if you're asking me, this is what I have to offer.
Right.
Right.
I'm going to read something from your website.
Yeah.
You say that the greatest gift one can give to a children is oneself. We must realize we have a power within us to accept and love all of us. Then this will allow us to love all aspects in our children.
Yes.
That's so powerful. Meaning that if I don't love myself as I am, with all my, you know, enoughness or not enoughness, then I can't love my children unconditionally.
Yes. As I say, whatever you don't love outside, you don't love inside. Right. So if your child is, you label them as acting mean and you want them to change, that means that you haven't gone in and loved your own mean. You haven't understood your own mean. You haven't offered it kindness. You haven't offered it love.
So you have to
any,
be, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
You have to be your best friend.
Yeah, it's to own that we are two-sided. You know, if someone said to you, Renata, you are always nice, always. Would that be true?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I would know that that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes you're nice and sometimes you're mean. I mean, we have all traits, right? But we learned as children that mean meant, if we acted mean, meant love would be withdrawn, we'd be shamed, bad things would happen. So we decide, oh, I'm never going to be mean. You know, I'm always going to be nice, which is such a setup because where does mean go? It's still there. So then it has to go down really low and it has to get really sneaky, right? And so mean sneaks out at nighttime or, you know, in the day, whatever, it gets sneaky instead of, we have yin and yang, you know, we have nice, we have mean, we have happy, we have sad. So why would we want our children to be one-sided? And if you're always trying to be nice as a parent, guaranteed your child will take on the mean. Because it's got to be balanced, right? If you're always trying to be loving and peaceful, and that's why I don't like conscious parenting as much, because we get all confused. We think it always means I've got to be this. The other side has to show up, and it'll usually show up in your child. So when I saw my daughter's a very strong no girl. Instead of trying to control that or get rid of it, I started asking, what have I done with my no? Where's my no inside and how do I treat it? I didn't like my no because it got me in big trouble as a child. So I tried to push it down and never say no and always say yes, which built major resentment, but I didn't know. So my daughter took on the no. So the more I began to own my no and start to love it and get to know it, she began to say yes more.
Oh, wow.
Right? Because she didn't have to be the location of the no all the time. So anything that you see in your child that you judge or hate or want to get rid of or want to, manipulate, just ask yourself, where do I have that same trait inside myself in a different form? And how do I treat it? Am I willing to love the yin and the yang? Why? Because that's what brings balance. And then we don't have to act as adults. We can choose how we act. I mean, I still feel everything, Renata. I still judge people. I still feel angry. I feel disappointed. But as an adult, I try my best to choose to act kindly. That's just a choice I make. But it doesn't mean that I don't still feel mean and rude and bad and all that. And that all happens inside because that's part of me. So I welcome all of that. And then as an adult, children don't get to choose because they just act out, right? They don't have the capacity yet. But as an adult, my number one discipline is to always do my best to behave kindly because I can.
So what you are saying is that we can feel all kinds of feelings and not judge ourselves for it. So if I am mean, I won't say that, oh, Renata, you are mean today, you know better. I would accept it, but then I would choose my action. I don't have to mean. I don't have to act mean. I can be mean inside me and feel this madness, but I don't have to act it out, right?
Yeah, that's the capacity as an adult. We have that capacity to choose how we behave. It's so empowering, right? I was just at the dentist and my dentist was trying to push me into having x-rays and I don't like x-rays. And it was so funny because I could just feel my, starting to like get really pissed off because she's trying to convince me and they're telling me the same story, x-rays, it only is a little, la, 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 la. And I was like, I just wanted to smack her. I could feel it because I don't, she just was pushing me, but I could feel all of that. I was just laying there and I could feel all of that. And I kept looking in her eyes. I really love my dentist, right? And so I looked at her and I said, thank you so much for being willing to have this conversation with me. And she grabbed my hand and she said, of course, Leslie. But if I had gotten really hard and cold, which I felt inside, I would have been really nasty. I would have just said, just stop pushing me. I'm going to go get a new dentist. I could have been really scathing and mean. So it's a practice. I just practice going, I really love her. And she felt she was doing the best for me. Right. And I felt I was trying to take care of myself and she wasn't listening. Right. And then as I felt all of that, I could just be with it, love it. And then come out. And it was so beautiful. She goes, why don't you do your cleaning? And then you can decide at the end of the cleaning if you want to do them or not. It's like, thank you. I need some time to be with that. So it was a beautiful encounter. She and I both just moved in and out, but I could have been cold and hard and decided to never go to see her again.
It doesn't feel intuitive, like, going inside, because whatever we are triggered, we usually look for the source of our trigger, which is very often our children. So my children makes me sad. My children makes me angry. My children makes me proud, whatever it is. They are the source of my feelings. And we spend like money and time trying to fix them. So I would feel good inside.
Yes.
And you are saying that we must go inside ourselves.
Yes. They don't make you feel that. They trigger that feeling because that feeling was with you way before you had your children. Right? I felt disappointed as a little girl. My daughter didn't make me feel disappointment. She awakened, and triggered my disappointment.
Feelings.
Yeah. So when I finally got it, that feelings live inside of us. The way you'll know this is I could tell you one thing and your partner could be standing next to me. He might laugh at it and you might have your feelings hurt. Right. So feelings live inside of us. Whatever gets activated, it lives in us. Right. So once you get clear that your children are nothing is making us feel anything, it's triggering it. And then if we want to really move towards self-love, Self-love is not about trying to stop this from activating what's in here. It's about coming in and going, oh, when I felt rejected, I had a story that I was a rejectable person. So instead of trying to get my daughter to never reject me or never trigger those feelings, when I would go to my safe seat, I could go, is that true that I'm a rejectable person? No, that was a conclusion I came to as a very young child, just to, be able to live in my home.
Yes.
So now every time I feel rejected, I can ask that question, like, oh, I can love myself. I can say, well, I can feel rejected without identifying that I'm a rejectable person.
Exactly.
So all my work is all about liberation. I want liberation inside versus control outside, so that I never have to meet myself in those places that it is counterinstinctual, because who wants to go back and feel those early feelings that were really hard to feel as children?
But it's also liberating what we're saying, because if I'm able to go inside myself and then deal with it when I'm not depending on anyone, and whenever I'm trying to control, whatever is outside me, like
Yes.
It's impossible, right?
It is.
I can't control my children or my partner or my parents, no one.
Yeah.
But I can be in relation with myself and then look at all of it deep inside myself and try to be more conscious about, who I am. Yes,
for
that's
me,
so
my definition of a healthy boundary for me is what's okay with me and what's not okay with me about how I treat myself, not about how the other treats me. So if my daughter triggers rejection in me and I tell myself I'm a rejectable person, that's not okay with me. That's my healthy boundary goes, whoa, no. Wait a minute. That's not okay with me to tell myself I'm a rejectable person, right? The other way would be, that's not okay for her to reject me. Well, she's not rejecting me. She's just setting a healthy boundary. She's saying no.
exactly.
Right.
And we can all feel that limit. Like whenever my children ask something from me, like the first time it's okay, the second time it's okay, the third time it's okay, the fourth time I can hear this inner voice telling me like, that's enough. Someone inside me tells to me, now you have to take care of yourself, even if that means just taking, a 5-minute walk. But still, I can feel that voice. And then it's up on me if I can, if I would listen to it, or if I would go like, nah, I can do this. I can do it later. Like, I can do this.
Yeah. And then even deeper for you, as you say, and if your child asks for something, quit making it about you. Like, I have to say yes or no, right? Like, just say, oh, well, good for you for asking. Yeah. And right now, this is what I'm offering you.
I love it.
Right?
I'm going to practice it every day until it will become my habit. Good for you for asking. Yeah.
Yeah, I love when my daughter asks. It's like, go girl, ask for everything. I want her to have everything. I'm just not the one that's going to make it all happen.
Exactly.
Right?
If you could only give one piece of advice to all the parents listening to us, what that would be?
Well, I don't really like to give advice because I really believe that we all have the wisdom inside. So if I could support you, anyone that's listening in here, is to remember that you came in as a newborn. You didn't come in feeling not good enough. You didn't come in feeling like you didn't belong or that you didn't matter. Have you ever seen a newborn and you go, oh man, that is, that child doesn't matter at all. I mean, we see newborns and we go, just our hearts open, love opens, right? So you're talking about self-love. So if I could offer anything, it's like, go all the way back. Of course, you're not going to love the conditioned parts of yourself. You were conditioned not to love parts of yourself. But go back, do that exercise about meeting that newborn in you and starting your day every day with, oh, I am love. I don't have to love myself. I am love.
Right. I have the last one, the tricky one for you.
Yes.
If you would have something to tell to Leslie before you were a mom,
yes,
what would you say to yourself? Like, what do you know now that you didn't know at that time?
You know, I think about this often because I always hear that question. And I think I would tell her, just, girlfriend, everything you have done has been perfect. You know, I think I would release any part of myself that still feels guilt or shame or feels like I didn't do it right or it didn't happen. I think I would really let her know that, you know, it's all been perfect. It's all just, you know, she doesn't have that much control, right? That just be yourself. Be yourself.
Thank you, Leslie.
You are so welcome, Renata. I look forward to everybody hearing this. And like I said, I have a little free gift for everyone. So I will give you a link. And
I'm going to add the link to the conference. Thank you very much. I'm so grateful you join us.
Yes. And people can find me at purejoyparenting.com. We didn't even say that. So
you didn't even say that.
If they want to check out my website or just,
I'm going to put a comment and yeah.
Great. Thank you so much for asking me, love.
Thank you, Leslie. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.